Hey friends, it's your girl Mia. This is Mia Horror Stories. And tonight's story, my therapist told me the voices aren't in my head. They're behind me is told in darkness. The screen will stay black, so you can simply listen, imagine, and feel every moment without distraction. Trust me, the build-up matters, and the ending is where the real chill hides. So don't look away, and don't leave early. The first time it happened, in Dr. Keller's office, I tried to make it polite. I was mid-sentence, something about how the new job was fine, which is what you say when you don't want to talk about the part where you sit in your car after work and stare at your hands until they stop shaking. And I heard it again. A voice, close, not loud, not inside my skull the way anxiety narrates you. It was placed like it had a direction. You don't have to tell her that part. It was Dr. Keller. Her mouth was closed. She was still in that attentive posture, chin slightly angled, pen resting on the notepad as if it weighed nothing. Eyes steady, but not hard. I blinked and kept my face the same. My heartbeat did that stupid thing where it tries to climb out through your throat. I said, "Sorry, can you repeat the question?" Dr. Keller's eyebrows pinched together for a second. I didn't ask anything. The air in her office had that low, clean smell of eucalyptus and whatever detergent the building used on carpets. There was a diffuser on a shelf making a tiny electric hum that you only noticed when you listened for it. Somewhere outside, on York Avenue, an ambulance went by with its siren turned down to that bored city wail. "Right," I said. I tried to smile like I had a normal reason to pause. I thought I heard. You heard a voice. Dr. Keller didn't say it like a verdict. She said it the way you name the weather. I stared at the corner of her desk, where a coaster left a faint ring. My hands were clasped in my lap, tight enough my fingernails bit into my palms. "There's this thing," I said. "Sometimes I think people are talking, like not people, just a voice. And it feels like it's coming from where?" Her tone stayed even, but her pen had stopped moving. That was new. I swallowed behind me. That was the part I hadn't said out loud before. I'd been careful with that detail, even with myself. It sounded theatrical. It sounded like a movie. But the sensation was stubbornly physical, like a presence you could point to, like heat from an open oven. Dr. Keller held my gaze for a moment, then glanced not at me, but past me. The chair I sat in was angled toward her, a soft gray thing that looked expensive and forgiving. Behind it was a short bookcase with tidy rows of paperbacks, a framed photo of Dr. Keller in hiking boots, and a tall plant whose leaves had dusty edges. Dr. Keller's eyes traveled over those objects as if they were evidence. Then she said quietly, "Don't turn around yet." My stomach did something small and ugly. "Why?" "Because I want to understand what you're describing," she said. "And I don't want you to reinforce it by checking. Just stay with the sensation. Tell me what you notice." I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. "It's closer right now, like someone leaning in." The voice came again, soft as a secret, right at the back of my left ear. "She's making you do it." I flinched. It was involuntary, a quick jerk of my shoulder. Dr. Keller saw it. "Was that it?" she asked. I nodded once fast. "Okay," she said. "You're doing really well." That phrase made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. I was 31 and sitting in an office overlooking a deli and a nail salon, trying not to look behind my own chair like a child afraid of a closet. Dr. Keller shifted in her seat. The leather gave a faint squeak. She set her pen down with care, as if noise mattered. "Can you tell me," she said, "when you first noticed it as behind you, specifically?" The question was simple. My brain tried to make it not. I thought of the subway platform, the way you feel someone's breath too close, and you move forward without thinking. I thought of the hallway in my building, the old radiator ticking, and the smell of fried onions drifting under doors. I thought of my own apartment, the way the pipes sighed at night, and how I'd started sleeping with the kitchen light on because the dark wasn't just dark anymore, it had corners. "It got worse after October," I said, "after my mom called." "About your father," Dr. Keller prompted. I nodded, my private flaw sitting between us like a third person, avoidance. The way I could look straight at a problem and decide it wasn't real if I didn't name it. I'd done that my whole life. I'd done it with my dad's drinking. I'd done it with my own panic attacks. I'd done it with the way I'd started taking the long way home because the shorter route felt watched. The voice behind me breathed something that might have been a laugh, or might have been the diffuser humming, or might have been the plant leaves brushing the wall in the air vent. "Don't say his name." Dr. Keller's gaze flicked again, past my shoulder. Not a dramatic glance, just a quick, assessing movement. She was too controlled for drama. "What are you afraid will happen?" she asked. "If you turn around right now." My mouth went dry. "I'll see something," I said, and immediately hated how it sounded. "Or I won't, and that'll be worse." "Worse how?" "Because then it means I stopped." The word was sitting right there, broken, crazy, not safe to be alone in my own head. I'd been circling it for months like it was a pothole I could drive around forever. Dr. Keller leaned forward slightly. "It would mean you can't trust your perception." I nodded. My eyes stung, not from tears exactly, but from the effort of holding everything in place. Outside, someone honked, long and impatient. The city kept doing what it did, indifferent to whatever was happening inside this calm, warm room. Dr. Keller took a breath and said something that, even now, I can replay with perfect clarity. "I don't think the voices are only in your head," she said. My body went very still. Even my hands stopped squeezing. She held up one finger, not a warning, more like a pause sign. "Let me finish." Her voice stayed clinical, but there was a small change in it, a firmness I hadn't heard before. "I'm not saying there's something paranormal," she said, and I almost laughed at the specificity. "I'm saying there are a few explanations that aren't about you being crazy. Some are medical, some are environmental, some involve other people." "Other people?" Behind me, the voice whispered, sharper now. "She knows." Dr. Keller's eyes went past me again, longer this time. Her jaw tightened in a way that suggested she was making a decision too. "Have you ever had your hearing checked?" she asked. "Not just a basic screening, a full audiology exam." No, I said, confused. Why? There are conditions that can make spatial perception of sound unreliable, she said carefully. Also, certain frequencies can cause sensations of pressure, unease, the feeling of presence. Older buildings can have strange acoustics. HVAC systems, even nearby construction. I wanted to grab onto that. Old buildings, HVAC, construction, explanations with invoices and maintenance requests. But my private fear kept tapping at the edge of my mind. What if it wasn't any of that? What if it followed me because it was me? Dr. Keller continued. And then there's the possibility that someone is doing something intentionally or unintentionally that you're picking up on. Devices, apps, neighbors. It sounds far-fetched, but it's not impossible. My throat tightened. Are you saying someone is messing with me? I'm saying we shouldn't assume it's only internal, she replied. Especially because you're describing it as consistently behind you. That specificity matters. The office felt different suddenly, like the temperature had shifted a degree. I realized I'd been listening so hard to the space behind me that I hadn't really looked at Dr. Keller's face. She looked concerned, not therapist concerned, something more human. She reached toward her desk drawer, opened it, and slid something out. A small device, black, palm-sized. She held it low so I could see it without leaning back. A white noise recorder, she said. I sometimes use it for clients with sensory sensitivities. It logs ambient sound patterns. My pulse stumbled. You record sessions? No, she said quickly. Not speech. It doesn't pick up conversation clearly. It measures spikes, frequencies. It's like a thermometer for sound. Behind me, the voice muttered, annoyed. Don't let her. Dr. Keller set the device on the side table between our chairs, closer to her than to me, as if respecting my space. Then she looked me in the eye. I'm going to ask you to do something uncomfortable, she said. We have two options. I forced myself to breathe through my nose. The eucalyptus smell felt too sharp. Option 1, she said. You turn your chair slightly, and we see if the sensation changes. We do it slowly together. No sudden movement. My fingers dug into my palms. Option 2, she said. We stop here. You leave, and before our next session, you get a hearing exam and a basic safety check at home, locks, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detector. I can give you a list and we can talk through it. Carbon monoxide. The idea landed with a thud. I pictured headlines, the kind you skim past and later can't stop thinking about. Dr. Keller waited. She didn't rush me. Outside, a delivery truck idled, the engine vibrating through the window like a distant purr. Behind me, the voice softened again, almost coaxing. Get up, go, don't turn. I stared at my therapist, at the calm set of her shoulders, at the device on the table, at the plant, leaves barely moving in the vent's breath. My choice sat in the room like a weight. Stay and test the behind me feeling here. In the safest place, I had right now or leave, and start pulling at the practical threads that might unravel something bigger. I swallowed, feeling the dryness scrape. If we do option 1, I said, and I panic. Then we stop, Dr. Keller said, and we ground, and you'll still go do option 2. My hands loosened just a little. I felt the chair beneath me, the fabric against my back. I listened to the hum, the distant traffic, the soft tick of the radiator, and behind me, whatever that was, waited. I nodded once, because I didn't trust my voice. Dr. Keller lifted her hand slightly, as if to guide the pace, and said, "Okay." On 3, we turned just a few degrees. We didn't get to 3. The hum in the room changed first. Not louder, sharper, like someone tightening a screw you didn't know was loose. Dr. Keller's hand was still raised between us when the small black device on the side table chirped once. A clean, synthetic sound. Then again. Faster. She froze. I froze harder. "That's new," she said, and the calm in her voice thinned just enough for me to hear the effort underneath it. Behind me, the voice breathed, irritated now. Too close. Dr. Keller reached for the device, then stopped herself, as if remembering a rule. "Maya," she said, "I want you to stay facing me. Don't turn. Just tell me what you're feeling." My skin prickled along my arms, the way it does when you stand too near a subway train. "Pressure," I said, like something's pushing on my ears. The device chirped again. A rapid staccato, then a low vibration I could feel through the table, through the floor. Dr. Keller's eyes flicked to the ceiling vent, then to the wall behind me, then to the window. "Okay," she said, "we're going to pause the turning. New plan." "What's happening?" My voice cracked on the last word. I hated that it did. "I'm not sure yet," she said honestly. "But that device is picking up a sustained spike, not speech frequency. It could be mechanical, construction equipment maybe. Or," she stopped herself. "Or what?" She met my eyes. "Or something closer." The word closer landed in my chest and sat there. The voice behind me whispered, almost smug now, "Told you." Dr. Keller stood, slow and deliberate. Her chair squeaked softly. She moved to the wall behind her desk and pressed a button. Nothing happened. "Building management usually responds within minutes," she said, more to herself than to me. She pressed again. Still nothing. The device vibrated harder, like a phone on a table in silent mode. "I'm going to ask you a difficult question," she said, "and I need you to answer as accurately as you can, not as reassuringly as you want to." I nodded, because nodding was easier than speaking. "Has anyone else had access to your apartment recently?" she asked. "Landlord, super, a neighbor, anyone who could install a device, even temporarily." My first instinct was to say no. Clean, simple, avoidant. Then my private flaw kicked me in the teeth. "The super," I said, "last month. There was a leak from the unit above mine. He came in twice, once when I wasn't home." Dr. Keller's jaw tightened. "Did you notice anything out of place afterward?" I thought of the faint scuff on the baseboard near the radiator. The way I'd told myself it was always there. "I didn't look," I said quietly. The device chirped again, louder this time. Dr. Keller picked it up despite herself, thumb hovering over the screen. "I'm going to break protocol," she said. "Just a little." "What does it say?" I asked. Her eyes scanned the display. "It's not random," she said. "The frequency is modulating, cycling. That suggests a source that's adjusting." My stomach dropped. "Adjusting to what?" "To us," she said. Behind me, the voice laughed. Not a sound exactly, more like breath scraping teeth. "Enough," Dr. Keller said, sharp now. She turned toward the window, pulled the blind up halfway. Late afternoon light spilled in, flat and gray. The city looked normal, pedestrians, a dog tugging at a leash, a delivery bike weaving through traffic. Normal things. I clung to them. Dr. Keller glanced at her watch. "We have 10 minutes left in the session," she said. "I don't want you leaving here without a plan." The device vibrated again, harder. "I think we should leave," I said. The words came out rushed, overlapping each other. "Right now. This building, whatever it is, it's making it worse." Dr. Keller hesitated. "If it's environmental, moving you abruptly could intensify the sensation. And if it's not," I shot back, "if it's someone, a beat too, then leaving could also be risky," she said. "Elevators, stairwells, isolated spaces." My chest tightened. The office suddenly felt too small, the walls inching closer. The voice murmured, coaxing again. "She doesn't want you to know." Dr. Keller looked at me, really looked. "Maya," she said, "I need to ask you something that might sound accusatory, and it's not meant that way." I laughed, brittle. "Everything sounds accusatory right now." "When the voice speaks," she said, "does it ever say things you couldn't already know?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. Thought of my father's name sitting unspoken. Thought of the scuff mark. Thought of the routes I avoided. "No," I said finally. "It mostly tells me what I'm already afraid of." She nodded slowly. "That matters." The device chirped again, then went silent. The sudden quiet was worse. My ears rang with it. Dr. Keller exhaled. "Okay," she said. "Here's the time-sensitive part." I swallowed. "Go on." "If this is a device," she said, "it's active right now. It could be recording, transmitting, or simply emitting. Either way, the longer it runs, the more data it gathers, or the more it affects you. So we call the police," I said. "Right." Her expression tightened. "If we call without evidence, they may do a cursory check and leave. If the source is subtle, it could be missed. Worse, whoever's responsible might remove it afterward." My avoidance flared. I wanted someone else to handle it. A uniform, a clipboard, anything but me. "What are you suggesting?" I asked. Dr. Keller took a breath. "I suggest we gather something concrete before involving them. Enough to justify a deeper search." "How?" My voice was thin. She held up the device. "This logs data, but I need to compare it to another environment. If the readings drop when you change locations, that tells us something." "You want me to leave?" I said. "With me," she said quickly. "Just outside the office. Hallway first, then maybe the stairwell. We monitor the device the whole time." My heart hammered. Hallways, stairwells. The places I already avoided in my own building. Behind me, the voice sharpened. "Bad idea." "I don't like this," I said. "I know," Dr. Keller replied. "And you can say no. But if you do, our next option is to end the session. And you go home alone with this still happening. That did it. The image of my apartment dim, familiar, full of corners, made my skin crawl. Okay, I said, before I could talk myself out of it. Okay, we try the hallway. Dr. Keller nodded, relief flickering across her face. She grabbed her coat, slipped her phone into her pocket. We do this slowly, she said. You stay in front of me. If you feel overwhelmed, you say stop. I stood. The room tilted slightly, then settled. The device vibrated faintly in her hand. As we moved toward the door, the voice behind me hissed, panicked now. Don't. Dr. Keller opened the door. The hallway light flickered, once, twice, then steadied. The carpet smelled faintly of cleaner and old dust. Somewhere down the hall, a door closed. Footsteps echoed, then faded. We stepped out. The device chirped immediately, louder than before. Dr. Keller's eyes widened. That's significant, she said. What does it mean? I asked. It means the source might not be in the office, she said. It might be following us. My stomach dropped. Following how? She didn't answer right away. She glanced down the hall, then back at the office door, then at the stairwell sign glowing green at the end of the corridor. We need to isolate variables, she said. Stairwell next. It's shielded, concrete, fewer signals. The elevator dinged somewhere nearby, unseen. The sound made me jump. I really don't like this, I said again, quieter this time. Dr. Keller met my gaze. Neither do I, she said. But if I'm right, we don't have much time before whoever, or whatever system, is causing this realizes we're testing it. Behind me, the voice went very still. We started down the hall toward the stairwell, the device vibrating harder with every step. And I had the sudden, sickening certainty that whatever was behind me didn't need me to turn around to stay close. The stairwell door swung shut behind us with a hollow thump that echoed longer than it should have. Concrete walls, painted institutional beige, a metal handrail cold under my palm. The air smelled like dust and old water. Above us, a fluorescent light flickered not ominously, just badly maintained and buzzed with a thin mosquito whine. Dr. Keller held the device between us like a compass. It vibrated, then chirped. Still high, she said, but different. My ears rang. A high-pitched shimmer layered over everything else. My jaw ached from clenching. Behind me, the voice was quieter here, but closer, as if it had leaned in to whisper directly against the back of my neck. Wrong way. We stood on the 5th floor landing. Above us, 4 more flights to the roof. Below, 5 flights to the lobby. The stairwell curled in tight, square turns, each landing identical except for the faded numbers stenciled on the wall. Dr. Keller frowned at the screen. The signal's attenuated, she said. Concrete's blocking something. That's good. So it's not me, I said. I needed to hear it out loud. It suggests an external source, she replied carefully. Or at least an interaction between you and something external. Not the same thing, my brain supplied helpfully. The device chirped again. Lower now, slower. Okay, she said. First attempt, vertical separation. She nodded upward. We go up 1 floor, See if the reading changes. My legs already felt rubbery, like I'd run stairs too fast. And if it gets worse, then we go down, she said. We don't linger. We climbed. Each step scraped sound out of the stairwell. My breath got loud in my ears. Halfway up, the voice surged suddenly, sharp and urgent. Stop. I stumbled, catching myself on the rail. Pain flared in my wrist. Dr. Keller grabbed my elbow. You okay? Yeah, I lied. My pulse skidded. I thought I heard. A door slammed somewhere above us. Hard. The bang ricocheted through the stairwell like a gunshot. I yelped, heart punching my ribs. Dr. Keller flinched too, then exhaled. Someone exiting on 7, she said. Sound travels. The device chirped, but didn't spike. Misdirection, my brain labeled it, shaky and relieved. We reached the 6th floor landing. Dr. Keller held the device out, rotating slowly. The vibration softened, almost nothing. She looked up, eyes bright despite the tension. That's significant, she said. It dropped. So it's below us, I said. Or lateral, she replied, which means the stairwell door below us creaked open. Footsteps slow, heavy. The device vibrated sharply again. My stomach clenched. The voice behind me whispered, delighted now. There. Dr. Keller stiffened. She stepped slightly in front of me, not protective, exactly, but positioning. A man appeared on the 5th floor landing. Mid-50s, maintenance uniform. Keys clipped to his belt. The super. He looked up at us, surprised. Everything okay, he called. The device screamed. A continuous vibration that made my teeth buzz. Dr. Keller didn't hesitate. We're fine, she said evenly. Just stepping out for air. The man frowned. Stairwell, not for loitering. I'm aware, she said, polite, firm. Behind me, the voice hissed. He did it. My mouth went dry. My private flaw, avoidance, screamed at me to stay quiet. Let authority handle it. But my heart was racing too hard for silence. You were in my apartment, I blurted. Last month. The man's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me. You came in when I wasn't home, I said. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. After that, things started happening. Dr. Keller shot me a look, too much, too fast, but didn't interrupt. The super's expression hardened. Lady, I fix leaks. I don't mess with tenants. The device vibrated violently, then abruptly went dead. Silence, real silence this time. No ringing, no pressure. My knees nearly buckled. Dr. Keller stared at the blank screen. Battery's full, she muttered. It didn't die. The super glanced between us. You two need to leave, he said. Now. Something about his tone, defensive, not confused, sent a chill through me. Dr. Keller nodded once. We will, she said. Thank you. She grabbed my arm and steered me up the remaining steps to the 6th floor hallway before I could argue. We burst through the door. Carpet, neutral art. A faint smell of someone's cooking drifting under a door. Normality hit me like a wave, dizzying. I sagged against the wall. That was a mistake, Dr. Keller said under her breath. Confronting him without evidence. You saw the device, I said. You saw what happened when he showed up. I did, she said, but correlation isn't proof. The device buzzed back to life in her hand. Weak, inconsistent. Second attempt, she said. We check your phone. What? Devices can piggyback, she said. Bluetooth, ultrasonic beacons. Apps with permissions people forget about. My chest tightened. You think it's on me. I think it might be interacting with something you carry, she said. That doesn't mean it's your fault. We ducked into a small alcove near the elevators. The floor indicator dinged softly. Somewhere, a baby cried. Dr. Keller guided me through my settings. Bluetooth, off. Wi-Fi, off. Location services, off. I deleted 2 apps I barely remembered installing. The device readings dipped, not gone, but quieter. Hope sparked and then died. The elevator doors slid open. The device spiked again, screaming louder than it had in the stairwell. I clutched my head. Pain stabbed behind my eyes. It hurts, I gasped. Dr. Keller slammed the elevator button, forcing the doors to close. The spike eased. Elevator motors, she said, breathing hard. Electromagnetic interference. Explainable. I laughed hysterically. Everything's explainable until it's not. She met my eyes. We're running out of safe tests, she said, which means the next step is formal. Police, I said. Yes, she replied, but not here. The device vibrated again, stronger now despite everything we'd shut off. Dr. Keller's face went pale. It's compensating, she said, whatever it is. Behind me, the voice whispered, triumphant. Too late. A fire alarm blared suddenly, deafening. Red light strobed. I screamed, hands over my ears. The pain was immediate and brutal. Dr. Keller cursed. False alarm, she shouted over the noise. Construction dust triggers them all the time. Misdirection, again, but my body didn't know that. People poured into the hallway, confused, annoyed. Doors opening. Voices overlapping. The device in Dr. Keller's hand vibrated like it might shatter. We can't control the environment anymore, she yelled. Too many variables. The alarm cut off as abruptly as it started. Silence rushed back in, broken by murmurs. Dr. Keller grabbed her phone. I'm calling the police, she said. Now. No, I said, sudden and certain. She stared at me. If it's tied to my apartment, I said, breath ragged. If it followed me here, then the source might still be active there. Or waiting. My avoidance finally snapped into something else. Resolve edged with fear. Dr. Keller hesitated. Maya. If we wait, I said, it disappears, or moves, or gets worse. The device vibrated steadily now. A low, ominous thrum. Dr. Keller exhaled slowly. Point of no return, she said. She nodded once. We go to your place, together, and we don't leave until we know. Behind me, the voice went silent. That scared me more than anything so far. We took the stairs down, because I couldn't stand the elevator after the way the device had screamed at the doors. Outside, York Avenue was doing what it always did, horns, brakes, someone arguing into a headset, the smell of halal carts and exhaust. Dr. Keller kept close, one hand at my elbow like I might drift into traffic. The little black recorder sat in her palm. It wasn't vibrating now. It wasn't chirping. That silence tracked us all the way to my building on East 87th, the one with the narrow lobby and the mailboxes that never fully shut. I hated it more than the noise. It felt like something had gone still on purpose. "You're sure you want to do this?" Dr. Keller asked as we pushed through the front door. Her voice was steady, but her eyes kept darting hallway, stairwell. The little security camera above the buzzer that had a film of dust on its lens. "If I don't," I said, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life walking around with my shoulders up around my ears." My wrist throbbed from the stairwell stumble earlier. I flexed it and winced. We climbed to the 4th floor. The building smelled like old radiator heat and someone's laundry. Every landing looked the same. Beige walls, a dying plant in a pot, a faint smear where people's hands had brushed the paint. When we reached my door, my key was already in my hand. I stopped. The deadbolt was turned, unlocked. I stared at it like it might turn itself back. Dr. Keller saw it and went still too. "Did you lock it this morning?" "Yes," I said instantly, because I always locked it. Twice. My private flaw in action. Control where I could, avoid what I couldn't. The recorder in her hand gave a tiny chirp. Just one. Then a low vibration started, so soft I could feel it more than hear it. Behind me, the voice returned, intimate as breath. "Don't go in." My skin prickled so hard it hurt. Dr. Keller's eyes held mine. "We don't enter without a plan," she said. "We step back. We call 911. My mouth opened. Avoidance wanted to agree. Relief wanted to hand the fear to someone with a badge. But the vibration strengthened, as if whatever was inside had sensed we were here. I heard it then, a faint scraping, not quite a footstep, from the other side of my door. Someone was in my apartment. Dr. Keller had her phone out already. She didn't dial, yet she listened. Her jaw tightened. "Okay," she said quietly. "We do this safely. You stand behind me. If the door swings open, you move back down the hall. No heroics." I wanted to say I wasn't a hero. I wanted to say I didn't even want to be here. Instead, I nodded. Dr. Keller raised her voice, sharp enough to carry. "Hello. This is Dr. Hannah Keller. We're at apartment 4B if you're inside. Identify yourself." Silence, then a soft click, like a latch. Dr. Keller's phone hovered over the screen. "On 3, she said to me. We opened the door and stepped back. The recorder vibrated harder. My teeth buzzed with it. "1, she said. The voice behind me whispered, pleased now, like it knew the script. 2. Dr. Keller twisted the knob and pulled. The door opened a few inches. A man's hand shot out from the gap and shoved it wider with sudden force. Dr. Keller stumbled back, shoulder slamming into the hallway wall. The super stepped into the doorway. Up close, he looked less like a guy who fixed leaks and more like someone who'd been running on adrenaline for hours. His pupils were wide. A sheen of sweat slicked his forehead. He held a small toolbox in one hand, and in the other, my stomach dropped a coil of thin black wire. "What the hell are you doing here?" he snapped. Dr. Keller didn't flinch. She was already dialing. "Step away from the door," she said, loud and clear, like she wanted any neighbor to hear. You are trespassing. His gaze flicked to my face. The corner of his mouth twitched. You, he said, you had to go and bring someone. The recorder in Dr. Keller's hand gave a violent buzz. The air pressure in my ears spiked. The voice behind me surged so sharply, I almost gagged. She brought a witness. Dr. Keller held her phone up, screen lit. I am calling the police, she said. Now. His expression tightened. He lunged. Everything happened too fast and too slow at once. He slapped the phone hard. It flew and skittered across the hallway carpet, screen flashing. Dr. Keller grabbed for it and missed. He shoved her with his shoulder. Her head hit the wall with a dull, sick sound that made my stomach roll. Dr. Keller slid down a few inches, grimacing, one hand going to her temple. Blood welled between her fingers. My body moved before my mind did. I grabbed the hallway railing nothing, and then I was in the doorway, pushing at him with my good arm, trying to shove him back into my apartment, because the hallway felt too exposed, too public, too full of echo. Bad instinct, panic instinct. He swung his toolbox like a battering ram, not at my head, but at my torso. It clipped my forearm. Pain flared white-hot. I gasped and stumbled. The voice behind me cut in, cold and instructive. Behind. It wasn't a warning about ghosts. It was directional. He was reaching behind the doorframe, towards something mounted low, inside the wall. I saw it in the same instant the recorder's buzz pitched higher. A small, flat speaker plate tucked behind the loose baseboard by the entry, wired into the wall cavity. A cheap parametric transducer, something that could throw sound in a narrow beam, so it felt like it was coming from a specific point. Behind me, all this time, it hadn't been in my head. It had been in my walls. Stop, I shouted, and my voice cracked raw. He yanked at the wire, eyes wild. You don't get to, he started. And then Dr. Keller, still half on the floor, did something I didn't expect. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her keys, heavy, with a thick metal fob, and whipped them at his face. They hit his cheekbone with a wet smack. He swore and flinched, hand flying up. It was a tiny opening, a human opening. Dr. Keller, teeth clenched, reached for her phone on the carpet and hit the emergency call button again with shaking fingers. She shoved it toward me. Speaker, she rasped. Now. I hit it. The operator's voice filled the hall, tinny but real. 911. What's your emergency? This is Dr. Hannah Keller, Dr. Keller said, voice tight with pain. We have an intruder in apartment 4B, male, building maintenance, attempting to remove equipment. He assaulted us. We need police and EMS. The super's eyes flicked to the phone. Calculation battled panic on his face. He made a choice. He lunged past me, not to attack, but to bolt down the hallway. I threw my body into the doorway to block him without thinking. He slammed into me. My shoulder hit the frame. My wrist screamed. I yelped and went down to one knee. But I stayed in the way just long enough for Dr. Keller to grab his belt with one hand and the looped wire with the other. There was a sharp snap, either the wire tearing free or something inside my wall giving way. The recorder gave one last shriek and then went dead in Dr. Keller's palm, as if someone had flipped the power off at the source. The pressure in my ears vanished so abruptly it made me dizzy. The voice behind me stopped mid-thought. The super tore free and ran down the stairs. His boots thumped hard, fatting. For a moment, the world was only breathing mine, Dr. Keller. The operator still talking on speaker, asking questions I couldn't answer because my throat had closed. Dr. Keller pressed her bloody hand against her head and looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. Not triumph, not relief, but something like mourning. "Inside," she said hoarsely, "we secure the device. Don't touch anything else." We went in slow. My apartment smelled like stale coffee, and the lemon cleaner I used when I was pretending my life was orderly. The kitchen light was left on by someone else. The living room curtains were half drawn. The loose baseboard by the entry hung crooked. Behind it, the flat speaker plate was still there, half wrenched, its adhesive torn, wires exposed like nerves. Dr. Keller pointed with her uninjured hand. "Take a photo," she said, "from where it sits. Don't pull it." My hands shook as I aimed the phone. The camera focused, then blurred, then focused again. In the frame, the device looked small, ordinary, like nothing. On the floor near the toolbox marks, I noticed something else. A cheap carbon monoxide detector, face down, battery cover missing. My stomach turned. The operator's voice cut through again. "Ma'am, are you still there?" Dr. Keller swallowed hard. "Yes," she said, "we're here." Outside, somewhere below, I heard the building's front door open and close. Footsteps, voices, the distant crackle of a radio. Police. The immediate danger had passed, but the cost sat heavy in the room. My swollen wrist, Dr. Keller's bleeding temple, my apartment no longer feeling like mine. And as I stood there, staring at the torn baseboard and the little plate that had been whispering into my life, a new fear crept in, not supernatural, not irrational, practical. If he'd put one device in my wall, how many others did I never find because I'd trained myself not to look? The EMTs kept asking me to rate my pain on a scale of 1 to 10, and I kept answering like I was at work. "Maybe a 6, I said, even as my wrist throbbed with its own heartbeat, and my forearm was swelling under the cheap ice pack they'd wrapped in gauze. The truth was I didn't trust my numbers anymore. Not after months of telling myself everything was fine, because the alternative was admitting it was. Dr. Keller sat on my couch with a white bandage taped over her temple, her hair pushed back in a way that made her look less like a therapist and more like someone's exhausted aunt. Her eyes had that overbright shine people get after adrenaline, when the body refuses to accept it's done. An officer stood by my entryway, speaking into a radio, while another took photos of the loose baseboard and the little flat speaker plate nestled behind it like a secret. They didn't touch it right away. That was the first thing that made me believe Someone was taking this seriously. "Ma'am," the younger officer said to me, clipboard in hand, voice practiced, but not cold. "Can you walk me through when you first noticed the voices?" I opened my mouth, and my throat tightened. I hadn't expected that question to feel like stepping onto a weak stair. It wasn't just the when. It was the fact that I'd heard it over and over, and still gone to work, still smiled at people, still told myself it was stress, still slept with the kitchen light on and called it a preference. Dr. Keller spoke before I could. "October," she said, "worsening over time. Directional perception consistently described as behind her. We have reason to believe the device was active during that period." The officer nodded, scribbled, and then looked at Dr. Keller. "And you're Hannah Keller," she said. "I'm her therapist." The officer's eyebrows lifted slightly, as if he'd been expecting a roommate or partner, not someone who billed by the hour. But he didn't comment. Across the room, the older officer, grayer, slower, was crouched by the baseboard with a flashlight, careful not to disturb the wires. He let out a soft whistle. "That's not a baby monitor," he muttered. "That's, yeah." "Directional speaker," Dr. Keller said, voice rough. "Parametric." He glanced back at her. "You know your stuff." She didn't smile. Not well enough. The super was gone, obviously. They'd tried his unit first. The officers came back with the same expression you see on commuters when the train they need doesn't arrive. Annoyance edged with resignation. "Apartment empty," the younger officer said. "Neighbors say he usually goes home around 5. He didn't sign out. We've got his full name and photo from management. Patrol's looking. It should have felt like victory. It didn't. It felt like a door left open in a storm. A third person arrived in a navy jacket with a small hard case. FDNY, maybe, or building safety. He flipped my carbon monoxide detector over, shook his head, and popped the battery compartment open. It was disabled, he said. Simple, flat, like he was reading a menu item. I sat very still on my own armchair, ice pack melting into my sleeve, and thought about the months I'd spent blaming myself for being anxious when someone had been, very literally, messing with my air and my sense of space. "You should get checked," the EMT said again, softer now. "Just in case. Carbon monoxide exposure can do weird things." "I'm fine," I started automatically. Dr. Keller's gaze snapped to me, not angry, just firm. "Maya," she said quietly. "Hospital." The word landed with weight. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a boundary, a corrective to my lifelong habit of minimizing. I nodded once, because fighting her would mean admitting how scared I actually was. The ambulance ride was short and boring in the way emergency rides often are when you're not actively dying. Fluorescent lights, the smell of vinyl and antiseptic, the EMT's radio murmuring codes I didn't understand. My wrist got splinted, my forearm wrapped tighter, and a pulse oximeter clipped to my finger that made me feel like a machine being monitored. At the ER, the triage nurse asked the same questions in a different tone. Name, age, allergies. How did you injure your wrist? I hesitated. The truth sounded unreal in my mouth. "Assault," Dr. Keller said from beside me. Her bandage had seeped a little red at the edge. That gut us moved faster. They did a blood test for carboxyhemoglobin. They did an X-ray. No fracture, just a sprain and bruising. The doctor told me to rest it, to keep it elevated, to follow up if numbness developed. Ordinary instructions for an extraordinary day. When we finally left, the sky had gone dark, and the city had shifted into its late-night mode, less bustling, more tense. The kind of night where footsteps behind you register, even when you're not paranoid. Dr. Keller walked me back to my building anyway. The lobby looked almost the same, except for two things. A uniformed officer sitting by the mailboxes, and a fresh smear of tape across the management office door that said, "Do not enter," in block letters. My keys felt unfamiliar in my hand, like they belonged to a previous version of me. "We can get you a hotel," Dr. Keller said as we stood by the elevator. Her voice was tired now. "Or you can stay with a friend. You shouldn't be alone tonight." "I don't have someone," I said before I could stop myself. The admission was small and sharp. I'd built my life in a way that made being alone feel like competence. Now, it felt like vulnerability. Dr. Keller's eyes softened. "Then I'll stay," she said. "You can't," I said, half laughing. "That's tonight," she interrupted gently. "Not as your therapist, as a person who was in that hallway with you. It wasn't a perfect solution. Nothing was. But the thought of going upstairs and hearing the pipes creak and wondering if it was just pipes again made my stomach clench. So we went up together. My apartment door had been taped off by evidence tech, but they'd let us in after we signed something and promised not to touch anything. The baseboard area was now marked with a small tent card number like a crime show, except it looked cheap and sad in my entryway. The living room light was still on. I turned it off myself this time. I wanted darkness to be my choice again. Dr. Keller sat at my kitchen table with a paper cup of water, her hands wrapped around it. I sat across from her, wrist splinted, forearm aching, and listened. Not for voices, for normal things. The radiator ticked. A neighbor's TV murmured faintly through the wall. The refrigerator clicked on. For the first time in months, the sound behind me was just sound. "You did something brave today," Dr. Keller said quietly. I stared at the tabletop, at the tiny scratches in the wood I'd never noticed until now. "I did something stupid," I said. "I confronted him in the stairwell. I blocked him. You survived," she said, "and you got evidence. That matters." I swallowed, my throat burned. "How do I know it's over?" I asked. Dr. Keller didn't answer right away. She looked toward my entryway, where the tent card sat, where the baseboard had been peeled back. "You don't," she said finally. "Not tonight, not completely. But we can make it harder for anyone to do this again. New locks, cameras, a proper code detector." And she paused. "We can work on the part of you that decided your fear was proof you were broken." I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh, but wasn't. "I thought I was losing my mind," I said. "I know," she replied. And that's why this is going to leave a mark. Later, when Dr. Keller dozed on my couch with her coat still on and her shoes by the door, I lay in my bed with my splinted wrist on a pillow and stared at the ceiling. The apartment was quiet in the way I'd always told myself I liked. I turned my head toward the wall. No voice, just the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the building's ventilation. I told myself that hum had always been there, and then I caught myself checking whether it sounded like it was coming from behind me. That's tonight's story. If it gives you chills, make sure to like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and tap the bell so you never miss what's coming next. And if you're still brave enough, there are more dark tales waiting for you right here on the channel. Go watch another if you dare.